What's happening, financial coaches? It's Pete here. Hey, wanted to come at you with something here that I actually thought was kind of urgent. This is not necessarily a new thought for me, but it's something that I'm seeing creep up in people's financial coaching marketing and their discussion points and even how they pitch themselves in webinars or at the end of workshops, things like this. And this is performance-based results of your coaching. So a lot of people I have seen, and not everyone, but my opinions of this come from not just the coaching, but also from my financial advisor experience. But the pitch here is that I can help you do something at a certain level, and I will be specific here. Something like I can help you double your savings. I can help you increase your savings rate by 20% or whatever it is, right? I can help you save at twice the rate. I can help you, triple your retirement or whatever it might be, and there are lots of ways that people are pitching this. Some are using like, I can help you increase your savings by 200%, and basically trying to put numbers on things. And the problem with that is that that's not really what you're hired to do. I know that we think that people hire us to do that, but for example, I saw one very specifically that said, I will help you 3x your savings. Well, I think that's in and of itself a certainly laudable direction, but I don't know that you can ever make that promise or even kind of intimate that it's a promise. Certainly you can't guarantee it, but for example, I have a client. She is a single mother. She does not work. She doesn't have any employment, and she has $1.6 million sitting in a savings account. And the reason is because when her husband passed away very young, luckily he had enough insurance that he could pay off all their debts, their house, put away money for his daughter's college, and all of these things. And then the wife was able to live off of the interest on the rest of the money. So $1.6 million, no income, no savings rate. Would you be able to thrice grow that? If you can, certainly would love to talk to you. She would love to talk to you. She would certainly hire you at your full billing rate for that. But when you have no idea how much they save and what their situation is and what their income is, and you're making guarantees, promises about what you can do for their money, hard metrics, hard thresholds, it kind of reduces your credibility. I mean, it doesn't it reduces your credibility in that if I look at that and I say, you don't know anything about me, you don't understand anything about my situation yet, and yet you're making some of these promises, well, I have to question whether they're based on anything. Now, you might have put an asterisk in there and say, hey, this is based on my average client. Your results may vary. You can certainly maybe put in some disclosures. But I think if you are going to even promise certain performance metrics, you have to be pretty close that 95% of your people can do it. And I would also think that you would have to have some sort of proven process that might not work for everyone, but certainly has worked for most, So if you say, hey, we are going to get rid of your debt in 5 years, which is what, a debt consolidation, debt management company would do. They can't work with everyone. They can't get rid of everyone's debt, but they have a process. And so what is your process for tripling savings? What is your process for doubling their savings rate? What is your process for eliminating their debt in a certain period of time, right? And so most people say, well, I just coach, I just coach to that. Well, that's fine. The problem here is that the outcomes are not the point of coaching. The outcomes are not what you're promising. The outcomes are not what you are trying to deliver. What you are trying to deliver is a process for achieving those outcomes. So as a financial coach, what we should be focused on, and again, this is kind of staying within the financial coaching lane and not necessarily the counselor lane or the advisor lane or the therapist lane or the salesperson or educator or any of these things, right? It's in the coaching lane. The coaching role is to help people get better outcomes by helping them improve their habits and behaviors, right? The idea for coaching and the value of coaches is that the person left to their own devices will sometimes have bad tendencies, will sometimes be a slave to their emotions, right? And certainly in a bad economy, in a down market, these are the times when people can make bad decisions because they feel good, right? So what's the first rule of the stock market? Buy low, sell high. What happens when the stock market gets really high? The instinct is for people to buy as much as they can because it's only going to go up. And it's the instinct when the stock market crashes, or drops. It's to sell, get out before I lose everything, right? So it's exactly the opposite. And that's one of the things that financial advisors get paid for, so that when things like the 2009 financial crisis is valuing out, that people don't get out of the market. I remember, and I've said this before, I remember hearing behind closed doors in financial advisors' offices, in our office with our practice, with some of these financial advisors had been in the business 40 years, talking to people as they were weeping about where their accounts were. And the advisors saying, stay the course, don't sell. You will book this loss. The stock market has always recovered, all the same things that you have heard before, and the clients have bartered for it. And in fact, I remember working with some of my clients, and I said, listen, how much money were you planning on investing right now if the stock market was good? And I think at that point the Dow's high was something like 14,000, right? And I said, if the Dow were back to its high of 14,000, what would you have put? And they said, well, we would have planned to make our $5,000 Roth IRA contribution. That was the limit back at that time. And I said, well, what's stopping you from doing that? And the issue was, we just don't know where the market's going to go. Well, that's fine, but the market's down. This would be the perfect time in the long run to make your IRA contribution, right? And put that in. And they did. And the funny thing about it is in 2 years, they had made, 100% return on that particular money. And I remember meeting with the wife at the time, and she was just elated and was like, hey, we would never have done that had you not suggested us doing that and kind of pushing us to do that because we were so afraid about doing it. It was the right thing to do, et cetera, et cetera. The point there is that in the financial advisor role, just like in the coach role, our job is not to guarantee, I wasn't saying put $5,000 in and I guarantee you 100% return in 2 years. I was saying that this is the right behavior and it might not feel right, and you might be your own worst enemy, and you might be subject to your own emotions at this case, but what we are trying to do is trying to give you good, sober advice and guidance, not try to hit some benchmark. I am not guaranteeing you 5% returns, and this is where financial advisors get into this problem all the time, is they say, listen, hey, hire me. The S&P 500 does 8% a year on average. We'll target 10. And what they're doing and what they're setting them up for is failure, because they are saying, hey, my value is going to be to outperform some index. My value is going to be hitting some sort of a hard, arbitrary threshold. And if I don't, then I'm not worth it. And if I do, I am worth it. But that's not what the typical financial advisor's value is. The typical financial advisor's value is advice, guidance, helping people overcome our instincts and our emotions, and hopefully helping them out along the way. But whatever the outcomes of that help and that guidance and doing the right thing is kind of arbitrary. I can't tell you. No one can. No crystal ball. And we'd all be billionaires if we could. Same way in financial coaching. I think personally, if you start getting into the habit of saying, hey, this is what you can expect, 3xing your savings, having your spending, whatever it is, being rich beyond your wildest dream, hitting your first $1 million, whatever. There are all sorts of promises out there. But as soon as you start putting specifics to it and take the focus off of, what is my process? Why am I adding value? Every one of your clients is going to be measuring you on, did you deliver on what you promised in your brochure, on your website, on your Facebook page? When you talked to me and pitched me on this, I didn't double my savings. I am up 88% of my savings, and you didn't deliver. That was what you told me, and that's what I expected. That's why I hired you, and it didn't happen. And yet, if anyone else were in that situation and you increase someone's savings by 88%, they'd probably be elated. Why? Because they're not marking your value to a certain point in their savings account, right? What they're saying is that, did this person help me increase my savings because I was drawing down my savings? My behaviors were such, or my habits were such, or my lifestyle and consumption and income and spending were all out of whack. And, this person helped me get organized and helped me come up with a process and stick to it, and, and rein in my bad behaviors and create some good new ones, and, have the right mentality for this, and all of these things that help generate that, And on the flip side, 3xing your savings could be fine. 10xing it could be fine. The outcomes are kind of irrelevant in what I do. What I'm trying to do is get people to maximize their potential by being their best friend, not their worst enemy, and help them build habits and behaviors that are beneficial to their wellness in the long run. And whatever the outcome is of that, I don't know. But I expect to see it reflected in some way in their 401k and their retirement plans, their savings accounts and checking accounts, and in their credit score, and in their wellness assessment factor, and all of these things. I mean, I expect those things to improve over time, but I don't know how much. That's not my point. What I want is the mentality to change. I want the habits to change. I want the fruits of those behaviors to reveal themselves and manifest themselves in money and wealth and happiness and all these other things. But exactly where those things will fall, I don't know. And that's why if you get into the game of promising thresholds, promising certain returns, you're walking down the path the same as a financial advisor who says, measure me on what I do for your investments in the market. And as soon as you don't hit them, you're not providing. But the advisor, the investment advisor, the financial advisor that says, don't measure me on the investment returns, measure me on what I am helping you do. Where would you be without me? Right? Would you be better off or worse off? And if you'd be better off, then certainly don't work with me. But if I help you think clearly about situations that might be overwhelming for you, if I help you think clearly about the market fluctuations when your instincts tell you to do something else, that's when I earn my paycheck. Not because of performance, not because I'm outperforming some index, not because I am increasing your savings by any certain percentage. That's not what we do. It's the process. It's the behaviors. So hopefully that helps. Just wanted to go on a little rant about that. I'll see you later.